Hello, and welcome to part 3 of our 3-part Impromptu No Practice Children's Christmas Program presentation entitled Practical Applications with Mike Holmes and Terry Schultz.
Hi, this is Mike Holmes with ReachKeep.com and the Baptist Youth Mission. Also the pastor of the Sinclair Baptist Church here in Sinclair, Wyoming. And we're trying to help out some of our churches around the country with a impromptu, no practice Christmas program for children. And so we've been sharing some things. If you missed the last couple of episodes, they are available on our website at ReachKeep.com. You can look those up and watch those or email them to somebody else, the links to those. I'm joined with Terry Schultz, who directs our children's ministries here, and she's helping us today kind of discuss some of these things. We're going to get into some of the what we call the nuts and bolts and how to run this actual program. I do want to encourage you to listen to the first couple of things that we did, videos. They dealt with the why we need to do this, because you really need to know why you're reaching out, and that's what helps to get the hows really down pat. And we're going to get into some hows at the end here, and if you don't know the whys, we'll go, why are you doing those pictures of parents and all those things? It's because of some of the things we covered in the first couple things. Also, the second one we did had to do with the leadership side of this, and you'll see this very evident as we go through kind of the format of the actual program. But we believe that there needs to be some strong leadership run through this situation, and it helps these kids in so many more ways, more than just a preaching time or a gospel teaching time. There's just a lot more authenticity there.
This is the hard work, though. This is very much where you really have got to give this lots of time, and you can't skimp on this step.
Yeah, there's some ideas here, and take the ones that work with you. And but this is some really good stuff. We've done this, and it works well. So let me just kind of give you the background here as far as a program. We do think a Christmas children's program can be done on a Sunday morning, and that is the best time to get visitors to come on a Sunday morning. That's kind of the front door of the church, as they say. You will get more guests on that day than in a Sunday evening thing, but that's your choice, however that works. We do feel children's programs are generally shorter, and don't try to run a full hour-long program. You can keep it, in the 45, 50 minutes, somewhere along that line as well.
And for us, it worked really well to do it in the afternoon because, with driving times and stuff out here in the West, it was you don't want to keep them out too late.
We've done some afternoon programs. We've done some afternoon programs, and those have worked well. Start at 4 in the afternoon, and go for a little while, and everything's done, and people are driving home before it gets dark. Especially right there at Christmas, the shortest time of the year. So, the other thing that this is a very leadership-oriented program. Because there's no rehearsals, you're really kind of trying to give your teachers and workers a break. We also feel it's more of a stage type of a thing rather than having the pulpit. We move the pulpit out and the communion table. Typical churches have those, and they kind of use an open stage format, so you get a little bit more chance for the children to move around without being blocked visually. And this is a leadership-oriented thing, and whether it's the children's pastor or the senior pastor, it's a great male leadership opportunity to really bond and get some authenticity with some of these kids.
And it's not that a woman couldn't do it, but this is really a good time for some men to step up into some kids' lives.
Yeah. So we start out with this program, and tell us, we kind of have a front end where we do some singing and a little bit, and why do we do it that way?
It is really important to accommodate those late comers. Visitors do not have to be on time.
That's say that again real loud and clear.
Visitors do not have to be on time. They usually aren't on time, and they need to be able to walk in and go, okay, I really need to figure out where that bathroom is, and where my out is, especially if they're uncomfortable in church. So you need to be friendly to the visitors and welcoming to the visitors, someplace that they can just really walk into. But to do that, you have to build that into your program. So a nice long song, song or some other front end bumper so that they have time to get in.
You know, and you see this on, you know, from television shows to radio programs. A lot of them have the, you know, all the scrolling things at the front, the credits, and that is so people are going, oh, I better grab my popcorn and sit down and,
Get my
you know,
Coke,
watch
yeah.
my favorite TV show. It's just a concept that people kind of gives them a few moments.
We're very used to that.
Yeah, and of course we do, you know, typical church have an opening song, and on a thing like this, if you're trying to really try to keep, you know, less people involved, if you have a piano player, that's a great asset. But if not, there's not a problem with finding some good holiday type music, maybe a larger choir, you know, something that kind of goes with your church, and playing that as
Yeah.
an opening song.
I think it's really important that we set the tone for those that have gotten there on time, that we start on time. So that's not an excuse for you not to start on time, but make sure when you start that you've got a buffer of things that a latecomer isn't going to miss. The part where their kid gets to be the sheep or whatever.
Yeah. And so what we do is we have a buffer, and, you know, kind of it's a slower start, allows the latecomers to kind of get in there and settle in. And at this program, we have the children sit with their parents. Now we're going to take the children out from that in just a moment, but we don't have the kids in another secluded place or a Sunday school room, you know, getting decorated. We actually have them sit right there with their parents, and this kind of adds to a level of the interactivity, because you now have a family, and this child is a piece of the family that's going to come up and be an angel or shepherd or something like that.
They're participating and worshiping together, and that's important.
Let's talk about bus kids or parents, kids without parents for a moment.
You need to be ready for those kids that do come that don't, maybe, you know, the neighborhood kid comes or the kid that's just like from down the street comes. You need to have some adults ready to sit with those kids and interact with those kids in a mentor type situation. Somebody else you might be really careful of is that mom that's got 3 or 4 kids that she's there all by herself, that, you know, you just come alongside and sit with her and help her. This is not the time for all of the Sunday school teachers to sit with their families necessarily.
Yes, and that's a good thing. I mean, your Sunday school teachers and some of the workers, you know, if you can have them interspersed, you know, with some of the children that need a little extra help, and that's a good thing. As the children, you know, come in and are seated with their parents, then what we try to do is have, after that opening song, what we're going to do is probably show, you know, a smaller Christmas-oriented video clip. If you have the capacity to do that, that's a great thing. Another song, or maybe some type of a Christmas poem, or, you know, something that kind of settles everybody in a little bit and lets them know kind of where the service is, and that, you know, everyone's just kind of settled in, and kind of, you know, you can actually, there's some great narrated Christmas stories with the music in the background, and someone is reading the Matthew
That are
version
just, you know,
or something.
3 or 4 minutes long, but it's enough that, again, adds a little bit to that buffer, but it sets a tone as well.
And it's not necessarily a congregational song. This would be more something that they sit and listen to.
Right.
Now, concerning music, with a kids program, Christmas is one of the best times for congregational singing, because people,
They know the songs.
Almost everybody knows the songs,
Right.
even if it's, you know, Joy to the World, or, you know, something along that line. A lot of people do know those songs here in America, and so we want to kind of take advantage. When we get to the portion where, Pastor, you're kind of telling us, the leader is leading the story, you can break that up into a few different places with some different stories or different songs that kind of fit in there. And if you have a piano player doing that, and if the kids wanted to rehearse those or practice those in a Sunday school class a few weeks before, that's fine. But it would be more of a congregational rather than special
Just the
music.
kids,
There are no specials in this thing where someone is really, one person's on stage doing something all alone other than the pastor.
But that doesn't mean the kids aren't up front singing the song.
And the parents are thrilled
because
with
the kids
them.
love that, but the parents are singing with them, and so you don't have the little awkward kid going, I'm not going to sing. Because everybody's singing, it's just that the kids get to stand up front and, you know, parade in their cute little outfits and
Yeah,
whatnot.
one of the great dynamics that we discovered, and we try to, you know, put into some of our other children's programs that we do, is people singing to people. Okay, now lots of times this is done with, you know, worship teams and some of that, and we don't necessarily do that here. But when children are on the stage and they're singing, and parents are singing the same song, and they're singing kind of at each other, there's kind of a new
contact.
dynamic that goes on, and you can kind of work that in. So Anyway, so you have this opening, song, and then you have kind of a, an opening element where, the kids are kind of settling in and, learning some things. And then it's time for the leader to start to tell a story. And again, Pastor, we mentioned this in our second video. This is not 3 points in a poem kind of a story. This is you telling the Christmas story. And I hope you don't need help with that, okay?
Yeah.
It ought to be, and we're going to use the Luke story is the way we're doing, the
Right.
first part of Luke. So
And
go ahead.
you might have your Bible open on your lap, but you're not going to, be standing up there and telling it sermon style at all. It's more of a conversational story time with those kids,
Yeah.
so that, you're not standing up and I am all about our pastors being authorities in our churches, but this is not the spot for that as much as it is for you to be there and connect with those kids.
You could read a text or the portion of the text if you desire, but then just simply start to work your way through. And if we do the Luke story, if you tell the first part of Luke and kind of the Mary, Joseph, and some of those things in the first part of Luke, you'll be able to kind of get a story going. People will be kind of listening, and you can start to get that going. And then you set the kids up. You say, now in a few moments, I'm going to need some volunteers. And we're going to have some children. Are there any children that would like to volunteer? Raise your hand. And all the children will raise their hand.
Right.
And say, now you just sit straight and quiet, and I'm going to pick you in just a few moments, but let me tell you just a little bit more about Mary and Joseph and the decree from Caesar Augustus that
Right.
everyone should be taxed, and
I
go
think
through the
it's-
background.
I think it's really important to both the children and the parents too, that you've kind of given them that cue that you're going to get to come up pretty soon here. This is where you get to be involved, because you don't want to leave them hanging and wondering, especially if they're not comfortable. You want to give them that predictability of what's coming next. It helps them settle in and enjoy it.
And generally in church, in big church, you don't have people come forward and act out stories.
Right.
So I mean, yes, to set people up for that is just a really good thing. So you get partway into the story, you do the first part of Luke, and you get into that second part of Luke with shepherds and some of that. And you say, now I'm telling you the story about shepherds, and these shepherds are in their fields. And it's like, I need some shepherds. I wonder if there's any volunteers that would help me with shepherds. And then just hand pick some people. And of course, you'll know by now, because all of the people are there, and you're probably 15 minutes into the service. You'll know how many kids are there. You'll be able to kind of see them all, and it's like, okay, we got about 25 kids. I need about this many, then this many, then this many. You want to try to get them all. And of course, if a child doesn't want to volunteer, younger ones lots of times will not come. That type of thing. That's just fine. But say, I'm going to need some shepherds. And then what you do is you say, I'll take you. You're sitting very straight and quiet. And of course, there's a device to keep your kids quiet. I'll take you, and I'll take you, and these kids come forward. And as they come forward, I usually just stop with them, and I'll just say, now I'm going to need you to help me do something. I want you to be shepherds for me, and here's what I'm going to have you do. I'm going to have you, this teacher here is going to help you for just a second. In a few moments, I'm going to call you forward, over here, back to this part, but I want you to get ready right now. And I would pass those kids off, and this is all right in front of everybody. This
Yeah,
is not,
just like stage left or stage right.
Yeah, you're
not
just,
off stage.
this is not off stage. And the parents, you go, oh man, they're putting costumes on these kids or whatever right there. That is absolutely fine. And you'll find the parents are taking photographs of their kids getting, their shepherd outfit on. So tell us how we kind of process those kids and how we move. What's the best way to do that?
First of all, I want to say it takes away that uneasiness that parents might have if they left the room to go
Yes.
change. You're doing it right in front of them so that there's some comfort there with that parent. Then also, you have your costumes ready, and costumes do not need to be elaborate. Bathrobes, towels. We used to do the towel over the
Put towels over
the head with a headband or a
big rubber band works good. Oversized rubber band over a towel works good.
Yep. Well, we girls call those headbands.
Oh,
Mr. Mike.
headbands,
Sorry,
okay.
I know that's not
Rubber
something
band,
you're used to. But have them all ready, and have some that are going to be really simple. So if you have an abundance of kids, you can have maybe just a sign over one of them that says sheep number 1 and sheep number 2, or a paper plate on a stick or something. Yeah,
the costumes don't have to be fancy. And what you'll find at this time is a really neat thing. too, is if you get someone from your church who's a good photographer, and they're taking pictures during this time,
Lots of
that will
pictures.
enhance, the parents will come up with their phones and actually take pictures of the kids, kind of getting ready, welcome that and let them do this. We're trying to create a memory here
Right.
and a deep impression in a child's heart, and it's not as much about the exposition of,
Right.
Luke chapter 2, verse 16 or whatever.
Right. There's another
So,
place for that.
so the way we decorate those kids is we kind of hand them off. In other words, we have a person that kind of takes them over to off to the side a little bit, but not in the back. I mean, they're still in front.
Couple
And then we have a
moms
couple moms over there that are helping. And it's best if you're putting costumes on to have ladies putting costumes on
just
everybody. Okay,
yeah.
it just works simpler that way. I wouldn't have any guys right there, and they're kind of decorating these kids. And then, Pastor, you continue to kind of tell some of the story, and then as you get partway into the Luke story, there's shepherds abiding in their fields, and you can tell the story about the Judean hills and those things. You say, and now we have some shepherds. Well, look, there's some shepherds. Come on over here, shepherds. And you just invite the shepherds over, and you just say, now you stand here, and you stand there, and you stand there. You just move them and have them sit.
The children kind of become the props for the
They
story.
are props, yeah, and it's just
And they love it.
They love it, yeah, they absolutely love it, and the parents love it. Like children, you just stand right there and do those things, and you get a little further into the story, and you'll realize that hey, we need, and you can actually, we wrote it up here. We have shepherds, angels, and sheep. Probably the second one to pick is angels, just because you tend to pick more girls for those. And we have these little halos.
You can make lots of halos for real cheap with a
Yeah.
little bit of
Real
garland.
simple kind of things. If you want to try to work the wise men in, there's a broken crown.
just built
But
it.
that's kind of another story. We try to stick to one simple story here. And you get these angels up there, and you do the same thing. You kind of pass them off, and they're being decorated, a little halo, maybe a little white gown that they slip on.
And while they're in costume, it's great to sing a song with them while they're in costume too. Whether you sing it right then in the middle of things, or you wait until they're all done.
Sure, this would be a time for like a little town of Bethlehem, or some simple little angels we have heard on high, or something
Exactly.
along that line, with or without the piano. But it'd have it be a congregational song.
Right.
In other words, it wouldn't be the
Again.
kids. The kids are not singing a song. It's everyone singing to each other. They can have the words on a bulletin if you need that, but it's nothing real fancy. Maybe even
Right.
just one verse, as you
Right.
kind of bring these kids up. You could do the old little town and kind of have a verse, and then bring the angels up, do another verse, bring the sheep up, bring another verse. We save the sheep for the last, just because it's usually the littler kids.
And you can have a whole herd of them.
And you can have a lot of sheep. And if you bring out your older kids, and this is an important thing, when you pick that first set of kids, pick your older kids. Pick your, third, fourth, fifth, sixth graders, whatever age you cut it off at. Because they tend to obey, they'll stand still, they'll be a little bit better
Right.
for you. And then the little kids that tend to wander around, they will have already seen somebody standing up there, and they'll know that they're supposed to go sit down at the feet of the shepherds, and they know clearly who the shepherds are. And again, with the sheep, you can do little cotton balls. You can hang a little sign around their thing, just a piece of paper that says sheep number 1. And it's the silliest looking thing, but you know what? The parents just get a kick out of it.
Another great one that kids love is the paper plate masks
little
that
mask.
you just hold on a little stick, and you can make dozens of those for not very much
little
money.
holes in
Just
them
print them. You can print them off if you want a real picture of a sheep, or you can just put some cotton balls around the edge, and it is really it's good memory making, and the kids love it.
And again, allow there to be some photo taking at this point. And you can even stop. And how many times in the middle of a sermon would you stop and say, "Okay, folks, come take pictures"?
Time for pictures.
So this is not your typical sermon. In other words, this is kind of something different. But again, creating memories, creating some powerful friendship type things going on there. That authenticness with the pastor, and some of that is good. So you work your way through the story. And you can, of course, conclude the story with, Christ being born and the angels. And you just kind of say, and all the shepherds came down, and they walked down. And you can get a Mary and Joseph if you so desire. Sometimes we tend to elevate Mary and Joseph in a much higher status, like, they got to have real costumes,
Yeah.
And then you think, we got to have a real baby. And that can get a little complicated.
Sometimes it's best to go get yourself a plastic set that's like the lawn set, and put the Mary and Joseph and baby there, because then they're going to behave.
Yes,
you know?
or you can just say, and they came and they knelt down, and you have all the shepherds come and kind of kneel down as if there was something there, and let the imagination go.
Yeah.
And the kids will do that. So you don't want to get it too complicated. You kind of conclude the Christmas story, and what we're going to do is kind of conclude that portion of it, and probably sing a congregational Joy to the World at that time. And again, everybody's up there, and you'd have the shepherds all stand up, and they'd all maybe line up in a straight line. It works kind of good. And they kind of, finish up and sing Joy to the World, and they do a good job. Now, here's what I'm going to do this year. We're going to do this kind of a little bit different. We've done something similar to this. I got an email a few years back, and you've probably seen it. It was called Christ Was Love. It's a story about some kids at a public school holding up the thing that said Christmas Love, and the kid held up the M in Christmas, and he had it upside down, and so it actually said Christ Was Love. And it's really kind of a neat story, and you can Google it, and you can find it. It's online, very easy. And we've got these letters, and we painted them up. And we've got the whole word Christmas, and then I got some other words that I wanted to do, like Christ was given, Christ was seen, and then I'm going to end with Christ was love. But I want to tell a little. Oh, go ahead.
Well, and when you go to buy, if you are buying letters, you may not be able to find the same exact font in later years. So you might want to buy, quite a few extras, so that if you decide to use a different phrase, a couple years down the road, you've got these. And we've had these for several years now.
Yeah, we've used these for a variety of things.
They're in good
and
shape.
This one too, this is an M, but it kind of makes a weird looking W. When you turn it upside down, it's not the most symmetrical, but I'm going to have the kids, I'm going to kind of transition, and I'm going to have all the kids, after we sing, I'm going to say, now you kids just sit down, I want to tell you a little story. And I'm going to tell that story about it. And I say, now I'm going to need some more volunteers, and I'm going to hand you some letters, and I'm going to hand the letters to these kids. And if they're older letters, or older kids, you can hand the letters to the kids not in the right order, rather than just start, C-H-R-I, you could just hand them to them and say, now could you rearrange yourself? You older kids help out, to spell the word Christmas. And they would kind of rearrange themselves on a line, which is a very fun thing for the parents trying to figure out how they spelled Christmas. And it's
engaging for the kids, too.
Just something for them to do. And then I'm going to go through, and we'll have, some extra letters there for the other words. Christ was given, Christ was seen, Christ was loved. Those are the words I'm going to kind of go with. And we're going to kind of do that and have those kids hold those things. Something about when they hold these letters, it really brings out the cameras, because their kid is holding, this little letter, and they just want to have that singular memory. And the kid will remember which letter he had, and that's an important thing, because when we get to the end of the program, we want to keep these people around. We'll talk about some of these smaller letters here in just a little bit, but that's what I'm going to do, is kind of wrap it up with those kids kind of doing that. Now, you may want to do your own thing. I mean, there's lots of ideas out there.
Exactly.
Your message, but this would not be a time for sit down, open your Bibles, and a full-blown message. It would be a summary style message.
Right.
Usually 3 to 5 minutes, kind of a heart-oriented thing, and because you don't want to take away from the main attraction, which was the children doing their things. And whether you present the gospel a little clearer there, if you didn't do it in the Luke story, that's kind of up to you, and how churches handle that are some different things. So that's kind of how we sort of wrap things up. We may finish off with another song, and we found Silent Night is a good one, and the kids would all kind of go back to their seats. Let them keep their costumes on, while they're kind of going back, and the parents will take care of the costumes, and we'll get all those retrieved. But for those little shepherds and angels to go sit amongst their parents, the kids are going to be snapping photos. And it's going to be a really good thing. So, and then you kind of close in prayer, but it's not over. Then what happens?
Well, I think it's really important, if you have got the facility to do it with, is to create some sort of a hangout time afterwards. And what we've done in the past is have lots of good cookies, and this is the time to pull out the homemade cookies and the hot chocolate, and if it gets on the angel costume, it's washable. and then some crafts, some things for the kids to do together. And whether it's just simple Christmas ornaments or some other device, it might just be that they're going to color some pictures that you're going to put up on a bulletin board or that they're going to take home. But have something that they can take home with them and remember. You know, I found this upstairs, and it just had a whole bunch of the kids signed
just a snowflake.
And
very
this,
simple.
And this like will be hanging on our Christmas tree at church, and it's kind of like, oh, I remember when we did that. That was cool. Or you know, you might get fussier. You might have pictures of kids that you want to you know, use some Polaroids and make some picture ornaments with the kids. That's another thing you can do.
My idea was much simpler. Red and green markers. Have them color their favorite letter
There's
of choice.
There's a reason you're not in charge of this part, Mr. Mike.
I picked up a bunch of these at like Hobby Lobby, and the kids can, you know, these laying out, and they go, hey, I'll take this one as my name, or it's the one I held in the program, you know. I mean, and they can color on those things. Now, here's something about crafts that you need to understand. In Sunday school, when they do crafts, Vacation Bible schools, they do crafts. There's a lot of reasons they do crafts because it's kind of fun, manipulative type thing. The reason they're doing crafts now is a totally different reason. That reason is so that the kids are busy, so that you can spend time with the parents. Because people lots of times exit right after church, but if their kid is coloring for an extra 5 or 6 or 7 or 10 minutes, having a cookie, your best relationship people need to be aware that this is the No Practice Impromptu Christmas program is a harvest field of brand new adults, and you're going to have people talking, oh, what's your name? Nice to meet you. Oh, your child was an angel. Oh, my kid was an angel too.
And this is not the time for the pastor to go to the back door and shake hands as everybody's leaving.
Do not
it's
go.
It's also not the time for somebody to start cleaning up. Matter of fact, you want to encourage them to get messy, and it's okay.
We have cleanup crews for things along this line, and we do not allow them to clean up right away. And that may kind of fly in the face of some of them, but they need to understand it's more important that we do the relational thing.
Oh, exactly.
And once everybody's gone, you know, maybe 40, 50 minutes later, let your cleanup crew know, hey, at such and such a time you can come and do those kind of things. So have someone passing around some cookies and some hot cider and, you know.
And engage some kids that, you know, maybe they don't want to color, but, you know, you could give them a tray of cookies to walk around to people.
Sure, you know, the junior high and high school kids can do that kind of thing. And these are some very simple things. Once again, a lot of planning, but not a lot of practice, not a lot of rehearsal. You might need a music person to rehearse so they would know when to play those songs, and that's about it. And the pastor or the youth leader would be the person to make sure they know the Luke story, you know, very well, and kind of be ready if you have, you know, more angels or not enough angels or no sheep or, you know, whatever. You have to kind of roll with it. But when they see you roll and they see you, move with the flow, that's some authenticity that doesn't normally get to be seen by the families all together, and some really good stuff. So that's the gist of it.
Yeah.
And we would love to try
fun.
to answer some questions for you if we can. We have some ways to get hold of us on reachkeep.com. There'll be some more at the end of this program here. At the end of this, they'll tell you a little bit about it. We want to encourage you, though, to really take this time of the year, and from really Thanksgiving through New Year's, and grow your church. It is the time when people come to church. It's the holiday spirit, those kind of things. And this would be a great program. We are doing some teaching and training on how we use our Christmas Eve service. We run 3 Christmas Eve services. We pack the place. It's really a great program.
And this is in a tiny town.
Yeah, we have some really good stuff that we've been doing. How to get them in for Christmas, what to do with them, to get them back after the New Year's. We're going to cover all that in an entirely new package that we're doing, about growing your church during this time of the year. And we want to reach our community. Pastor, leader, we know you want to reach your community too. And so,
you guys, I was just going to let you guys do this whole thing, but you have missed one of the most fun things we do with the kids on Christmas.
Okay, the cameraman has a suggestion. Yes. Oh.
The jingle keys.
Yeah. Jingle bells. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we usually pull out all the keys, don't we?
Grab their keys and give them to the kids, and the kids
sing a little jingle bells. Yeah.
Jingle bells, and they're jingling the keys, and It's one of my favorite.
Lots of fun things. So,
Yeah.
all right.
Lots to do. Lots to do.
Well, hey, that's us. We're from reachkeep.com. God bless you.
Hey, how's it going? It's Tandem here from reachkeep.com. Wanted to talk to you a little bit about our Growing Your Church Through the Holiday Season package. It's going to be coming out. It's dedicated to helping you to grow your church through the holiday season, which we kind of look at pretty much from Thanksgiving to right about New Year's. Now, what this includes is our Impromptu, no practice children's Christmas program. Our core audio training program. This is going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of an hour to an hour and a half on really using the holiday season to grow your church. It's also going to include 3 detail audio sessions on this, and those will be one on Christmas Eve services, another on Christmas Sunday, and a third on January assimilation, or now that you've had them come for the first time, how do you get them to keep coming through the new year and beyond. Now, in addition to the audio, we'll also have some photos, some PDFs, and 3 of our best guest relations podcast episodes on getting and keeping guests and what's keeping your guests from coming to begin with. Now, all of this is going to be available in early November, and you can pick it all up for $19 as a digital download. Or if you'd rather have physical CDs and things in your hands, it'll be $29 plus shipping for that. Like I said, those will be available early November from reachkeep.com.